All right, home. Welcome back to the journey. Welcome to this edition of the Sunday Monday vlog. It's been a week. It's been a week of rain, and rain here. So, got the gutter system. Posted some photos about that. Got everything plumbed into the cisterns. I have a clean out valve for leaves and anything that gets down in the gutters before it gets into the tank. And I got about 1,000 to 1,100 gallons of water through the rain for the week. We're drying out now. Today was the first day of semi-sun. For those of you wondering about solar, I had to run generator over and over and over because I did not have power, because I have fridges and freezers and hot tub. Hot tub takes a lot of power. So for those of you that are thinking about switching to solar, like I've said many times, unless you have a massive system and have a lot of money to buy all the solar, you're going to have to run generators, which cost more money than electric bill from electric company. So in this past week, I probably burned through, I don't know, $100 to $150 for a week, something like that. Between all the propane I ran through my generator. Now gas, yes, I could get more energy from gas than I could propane. It's got higher combustion or whatever. But I don't feel like messing around with funnels and spilling gas and smelling gas. I'd rather be able to just take a hose, hook it up to a propane tank, hook it up to the generator, turn on the valve, and I'm in business. So I like it nice, simple, and clean. That's why I've always gone with propane. Other reason why not to do solar, which I'll talk about more of the solar in a little bit when I get into the homesteading off grid. But with solar, like I said, if you don't have a lot, it's going to take a lot more energy from other sources. You're going to either have to run a generator, or you're going to have to plug into the grid, or you're going to have to car charge or whatever with a car charger off your vehicle, off the battery off your vehicle. I've done that before. So it's different things, and it's just, like I said, if you don't have it, if you have access to electricity, go with electricity. Now that everything's dried out, today I went ahead, I decided not to start on the deck yet. So I went ahead and started back on fencing, trying to get the fencing done. I'm going to be working on fencing this whole week. I've got my truck going to be worked on later this week. Feed the animals, same one. Same old. Have a bunch of baby goats running around, the baby calf running around. Baby goat got jumped into a water trough that was half empty. Don't know how the baby got in there, but I heard it bellowing, so I had to go down, rescue that baby today. Got the baby out, got the baby up to the mom. Only lost 2 little babies during the really cold spell that we had. We've got some cold weather coming up, but it doesn't look like it's going to be too bad. Although about 10 days out, it's looking like we're getting down into the teens. So we're finally going to get winter. Off and on winter. Today, I pulled 3 ticks off of me. So if that tells you anything, a couple days after Christmas, and I'm pulling ticks off me, that shows you how warm it was today. I think it was in the 60s today. Going forward this upcoming week, like I said, doing more fencing, get my truck work done, maybe start working on the deck here. But for now, it looks like at least the next 7 days is semi-sun, semi-clouds. My system got up to 70% today. So that's another thing. Been running a generator, didn't have to run it today, but I only got up to 70%. So it's going to probably take another day or two for my system to get fully charged, because the next 7 days are partly clouds, partly sun. So I can't get a full charge, and it's winter time. So the days are shorter, and you just don't get that much power. That's the downside of solar. Like Alaska, where sometimes you get a lot of darkness, solar doesn't do anything. A windmill, if it's not windy, or the right wind speed, you're not going to get power from wind. That's why generators are always the go-to, because that's your emergency. But talk about off-grid homesteading. You got to go lay down, or you got to get up here. Come here. Up, Days. Come on. Up. You can't just stay right there. I know you want attention. But for off-grid homesteading, it depends on what you classify as off-grid. Some people say off-grid is living in a log-built cabin with hand tools and mud chinking and all that type of stuff. Other people consider off-grid, like me, that you have solar, you have internet, but you're not connected to the grid per se. You know, I don't have city water coming here. I don't have the electric grid coming here. Yes, I have solar, or yes, I have internet that I pay. But nowadays, with Starlink, with Elon Musk's internet, anybody, no matter where you are, you can be in the jungles, you can be in Africa, you can be in Asia, you can be in the mountains and have internet nowadays. So off-grid is kind of phasing out on what you classify as off-grid, because you can have all the luxuries like me and be semi-off-grid or totally off-grid, depending on how you classify everything. So for me, in my circumstance, I just got the gutters done on my shed. I'm doing a rain catchment system. And for 1 week of rain, hello, Joe Doe, how are you? The weather is beautiful in Arkansas. It was in the 60s today. I pulled 3 stupid ticks off me, so I'm going to have to start spraying with permethrin this week until we get back to the cold. And yeah, it's beautiful now that the rain's over. But with the rain, or not the rain, yes, with the rain. So with the week's worth of rain that we just got, I got 1,000 gallons off of my 2 sheds. So I plumbed the 2 sheds together, which is a 12 by 20 and a 12 by 24. And then there's 2 sides, one each side of the roof. So 4 different sides for the 2 sheds, all going into one cistern. Now you're going to lose some water to evaporation. You're going to lose some if it spills, or like with me, the clean out valve that I put in, I came home and it was raining and I never screwed the valve shut. So it fell out and the water is just pouring out and didn't get any water for the first rain in my cistern. Now, if you think about a house and you do a 2,000 square foot house or 1,800 square foot house, you need so much attention. I've been out all day, right? Yep. Gotta love the dogs. Gotta love the Mickey Mouse. He's gotta have the attention. Yeah, he's like, you left me home all day. All I did was go outside, play around a little bit, lay on the couch, be a lazy bum. And he needs all that attention. But if you have a 1,800 square foot, 2,000 square foot house, you can collect a lot more rainwater. And then you're talking thousands of gallons per inch of rain, or tens of thousands of gallons per inch of rain, depending on how many different roofs you have. So, for example, for those of you that have not been following me since the beginning of the journey back in 2016, or some of you that have been following since 2016, know that before I got all the animals, I was doing rain catchment. What are the main predators? Do you have coyotes? I do have coyotes. I have bear here and our mountain lion here. People say there's not mountain lions in Arkansas, but there's been several people that have posted game cam footage here in their yards with mountain lions, or whatever they want to call it here. And they say it's a rarity, but I don't have the mountain lion issue like I did in Colorado. That's why I got the Anatolian Shepherds, and they kept the mountain lions away. Never had another issues with mountain lions after the one that tried to kill me. Coyotes here, I do my fencing. I don't have all my fencing done, but the fencing that is done for the animals, where the animals are, is good. I haven't had any issues with coyotes because I have fencing coming down. I did have issues with neighbor dogs digging underneath my gates and killing my geese and my ducks and stuff like that. I've since taken care of that issue. I have stray dogs that I had issues with. I've taken care of those issues. And the dogs do not roam free right now. The reason dogs don't roam free is because I don't want them going off the property and causing issues for other neighbors or other neighbor animals or anything like that. So until I can get a secure perimeter around the whole homestead, these guys just have their small yard here, which I'll be extending this upcoming spring when I get the power building built. So I'll go over that in a bit. Let me see what else she said, Joe. Here in southwest Nebraska, we had a mountain lion last month. The public officials deny it, but the mountain lions are expanding their range. Yep. And the next big thing that's going to start happening probably for Nebraska and Kansas are the wolves. If you look into Colorado, Colorado just brought in or is bringing in early 2025 another 14 or 15 pack of wolves being introduced to Colorado. So the wolves are going to be the next big problem because Colorado's lost their mind on everything. They want you to pay 10 cents on plastic bags. They do all these different laws against different freedoms. And now they're bringing in the wolves, and ranchers are losing calves, and it's a mess out there. And it's going to come out to other states like Arkansas. So if you're in a small town like I am, enjoy it while you have it, because it's just a matter of time until the stupid people come in, and every dirt road they're going to want paved. They're going to want street lights. They're going to want all that. I don't want dirt, or I don't want paved roads. I don't want street lights. I don't want none of that city stuff. I just want to be on my homestead, left alone, enjoy my peace, have my animals, live my life. But we all know that's not going to happen because people are going to move in. Yes, Max. What do you want? People are going to move in and they're going to ruin all that. I saw a homesteader in southern Colorado had her 4 pigs and 60 chickens this week. Have them what, Joe? You just saw somebody with 4 pigs and 60 chickens, or they lost 4 pigs and 60 chickens? I'm not sure. But getting back to the rain catchment, for those of you that have been watching or haven't been watching, in Colorado, before I got all my animals, I did rain catchment. I had 2 3,000-gallon cisterns. Joe, I'll get back. Oh, stolen. Well, a couple weeks ago, Joe, I had a llama shot to death. So people are bad. Even out here, you know, it's starting with people doing stupid stuff. My llama was inside his own pen, inside his fence, on his property, and somebody shot him right through the fence. I also know somebody else down the road from me that had their horse shot on their property in their fence. People are getting crazy. The world's going to get worse. We all know it. But getting back to the topic for right now, Joe, I'll be back with you. I'll check in on your comments after I get done talking a little bit. But in Colorado, before I had the animals, I did rain catchment. I had 2 3,000-gallon water cisterns, and I never had any issues with water. And in Colorado, I had 7 to 9 inches on average of moisture a year. And for those of you that don't know, 1 inch of rain is approximately 10 inches of snow. So even with the heavy snow loads, it doesn't come out to a lot of water. When I started getting animals, I had the issue of living off grid because a well was going to be like $28,000, and that wasn't guaranteed they hit water. I didn't have that type of money back then, still don't have that type of money right now, and I did not do a well. So I did my research since I went from being homeless in the hobo tent to finally having the house built. I got internet, so I researched like everybody else, YouTube, Google, everything else. How can I survive without a well, without city water? What can I do? Without hauling water, buying water, so on and so forth. So I came across rain catchment. Rain catchment is very tricky. because you've got to screen out the debris. Then you need filter systems to clean out the debris. Then you need to sterilize the water, whether it's UV lights, which take electricity, which if you're off grid on solar, that takes a lot of power. Or you do bleach, or you do reverse osmosis, or whatever you decide to do for your water system. There's a million different ideas out there. Any of my drinking water, not here. I buy these gallon jugs of water at Walmart right now for my drinking water. But the dog's water from the roof now goes through a two-tier filter system. The first filter is the best one, which is a 0.5 micron filter. And then just the charcoal filters you buy at Home Depot in the clear plastic. You put the cartridge in. It only does, I think, to 30 microns. So it doesn't take a lot out. But the charcoal will take out any bad taste, odor, so on and so forth. So that's to take any of that out that the 0.5 micron doesn't take out, because I don't think the 0.5 micron will take out viruses or anything like that. And then my drinking water back in Colorado, I used Berkey filters, not the knockoffs, the real Berkey filters, and they take all that stuff out. So if you want to do a water filter thing, I highly recommend investing in a Berkey system. If you don't want to buy the stainless steel, which I recommend you do, I know it's like $300. You can always get food grade buckets, drill holes, and do it that way. If you go back in my videos, you'll see videos of me doing the 5-gallon buckets. They weren't food grade. They were the Home Depot orange buckets, but we're all going to die of something. So I'm not going to be worried too much with chemicals, because chemicals are in food and everything else. But when I started getting animals at my place in Colorado, I did not get enough rain catchment. So if you're looking at going off grid, you need to start figuring out your climate. Are you in a desert climate that doesn't get a lot of rain? Or are you in Florida that gets monsoons and hurricanes and plenty of water? Or are you somewhere that gets 50 feet of snow and that can give you enough water? Then you have to realize how many roofs do you have. If you're just in a little tiny home and you have a 10 by 10 roof, you're not going to be able to collect a lot of water, even in Florida or a wet climate, because it's only 100 square feet. If you have multiple roofs, you'll be able to collect more. And then you also have to decide and know, do you need the water for just your household? Do you need the water just for your animals? Do you need it for both? Do you need it for that and gardens and orchards and swimming pools and hot tubs and what have you? So you've got to figure out how much water you're going to need monthly. If you live in the city right now, there's an amazing thing you can do. Keep your water bills. Look at your water bills and say, okay, for the last 2 years, I use this much water every single month. So when you go out and buy land and you decide to go off grid and do water catchment instead of a well, or you can always put a well in, but if you do rain catchment systems, then you're able to collect a lot of water. When I get all the homestead here all said and done, I'm going to have the power building. I'll be collecting rainwater. I'll have the bathhouse roof. That's collecting water. These 2 sheds collecting water. My house will be collecting water. And then when I do the barn, I'll have the barn collecting water. So between all the different roofs, it's something crazy like 10,000 gallons per inch of rain or something like that. I don't remember when I was looking at everything. But just for the 3 inches of rain here on these 2 roofs, I pulled in 1,000 to 1,100 gallons. And on average here in Arkansas, where I'm at, we average around 47 inches a year. We're, I believe, 5 inches short of being considered a tropical climate. So we're only considered subtropical. Where in Colorado, I was classified as the high desert because of the lack of water. You gonna jump down, knock over my phone? How did you fill your hot tub? I filled my hot tub with, I have 125 gallon tanks that I've had since Colorado. And I have my restaurant that I was living in down here, down the street, 6 miles. I paid for water. And for the last year or so, well, not previously to March, I was using city water. I paid city water bill. I was paying up to $150 a month for water at the restaurant, and I would fill tanks and haul water over here. But then when I got money saved up, I paid my excavator guy to dig that big hole in the back of the homestead, and I bought that $5,000 pond liner. It's like a 100 by 50 or 50 by 75, whatever I ended up buying. And now, with that being 16 feet deep, I believe, is how deep he was able to get it. That's filled with water. And even during the summer, that when we dry out, which we didn't dry out as much this summer as previous summers, I still had a minimum of 8 feet of water in that hole. So I use that water to water the animals. But the great thing that I'm going to change now, hey, quit. Stop grumping. Did you sell the restaurant? Also, what happened with the land you tried to divide at your current homestead in the old Colorado homestead? Oh, I talked about that. Quit your grumping. I talked about that, Joe. Oh, in one of the Sunday, Monday vlogs, it said that it had Colorado big news or something like that. I forget what the title was, but I believe Colorado was in it. Colorado sold, ended up selling it at a loss. I did get a small chunk of change. That's why I've been able to do everything I've been doing. So Colorado's gone. The restaurant's still up for sale. And then having issues with neighbors. So I decided I don't want any new neighbors. So I went ahead and took the front of my property for sale signs down. I'm not selling anything of the homestead. So I'm going to keep the 120 acres. If I sold the land, that would give me money to buy, or not buy, but to build a house. Same thing with the restaurant. When restaurant sells, that will give me some money towards building a house. So for now, I'm going to be stuck here in the shed. It is what it is. I wanted to sell the land, but I don't want any new neighbors, especially no more bad neighbors. So for now, that's what that's going to be. And then eventually I'm just going to fence the whole 120 acres in, minus like 6 acres that Steve is on, and go from there. But that's that. Yeah. So that's a quick rundown on that for you, Joe. How I fill the hot tub, the 125 gallon tanks, hauled water from the restaurant, use that to fill up. Had to get one more tank from the restaurant a couple months ago, because the hot tub, I need to put in like 20 to 40 gallons of water every few months due to evaporation, me getting in and out the hot tub. But now I've got 1,100 gallons right here on the other side of this wall in the water cistern. So all I got to do is hook up the pump and pump it from the tank through the filters into hot tub, and I can fill hot tub anytime I want. I can water the dogs anytime I want, so I'm not hauling water. Same thing with animals. Like I said, the hole in the back of the property. Getting off grid, homesteading is all about trying to save money. So if instead of hauling water 6 miles away from the restaurant and paying a water bill, I bought a tarp, basically, a pond liner. It's not a tarp, it's a pond liner. I paid for excavation and put it in. Now, yes, I paid thousands of dollars to get that done when I'm only spending $150 a month at the water company paying for water, and then wear and tear on my truck and trailer to haul water. So it's cheaper doing it that way. But if you look at the long run of things, which everybody needs to if they're homesteading and trying to get off grid or prepping or what have you, is you want to try to cut down costs long term. So long term, for the 2 years I was in the restaurant, I hauled water from the restaurant for the animals. 2 years of $150 a month water bill, 2 years of wear and tear on truck, new tires, new brakes, new ball joints, new everything, trailer tires, same thing. rebuilding trailer axles. So with all that, over all those years, and if I continued for another 4 years, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, because we don't get into homesteading and off-grid for a couple years, we get in it for the long haul if that's what we choose. Some people try it out, they can't make it, they move on. I've been doing it since 2011 when I lost everything, started the channel in 2016. So you want to try to save costs. So now instead of hauling water 6 miles away, I haul water half a mile from the back of the property to the front of the property. Now that's costing me money. That's costing me ball joints. That's costing me wear and tear on the truck. So how do I fix this problem? And how do I get more efficient on the homestead? How do I get more off-grid on the homestead without needing a way to haul water? Gas in the trash pump to pull the water out the hole to fill the tanks. Then water or gas to drive the truck and trailer all the way up to the animals. Gas in the trash pump to unload the water. Well, now that I've worked very hard this winter and I got all the gutters done and I got the 5,000 gallons worth of water over here, they're not filled yet, but I got 5,000 gallon capacity. I'm going to change, and I'll be talking about that in the New Year's new goal coming up January 1st or January 2nd, whenever I get it out. I still got to make it. Same with end of year in review. The animals are going to be coming right up here to the shed. Not right to the shed. There's going to be the dog yard, but the animals are coming up. So if you're homesteading, you're off-gridding, you want to save money, well, I'm not going to use all this water. I have no running water in here. My drinking water, like I said, gallon jugs. So what am I going to do? The new animal water is going to be right here. I'm going to bring up water troughs. I'm going to set everything up right here by the shed. The cisterns will have a hose connected to it. And all I got to do, pull the lever. Let the water release, fill up the trough, shut it off. Do I have to haul water next year? Most likely, no. Will I haul water next year? Possibly, because I don't know if these two small roofs will be able to keep up with the animals. However, eventually I'm going to have ponds all throughout the homestead. So with ponds, that will be water the animals can drink out of, so they won't only need this. But by setting up things next year in this new pen, where the animals will come up here to drink, I'll be able, like I said, to live stream the animals here. I'll be able to feed treats over the fence right here. I'll be able to water them right here. That will save me money on the trash pump, gas, getting the water out the hole, getting it out the tanks. No wear and tear on the truck, no wear and tear on the trailer. And I'm slowly getting more off-grid where I don't need pumps, I don't need vehicles or anything like that, because the water gravity feeds from the roof to the gutters to the cistern to the water trough. The animals drink. Nothing is done except pulling one handle and releasing water to fill it up. All right. Let me hop back and go over some of Joe's stuff. I'm going to have 3 neighbors to 24 neighbors, which sucks. So I'm going to move again. I'm sorry about that, Joe. Yeah, that's one thing I've decided now. I said that in Colorado, that they weren't going to push me out in the 30 days when they try to push me out. And that's one thing. I've put too much blood, sweat, and tears in this property over the last 4 years, building all the brush pile fencing, clearing roads and driveways and everything like that, getting the house site cleared on 120 acres, not 50 acres, 120 acres. So I will not be moving again. So I am here in St. Joe till my last days. My neighbor hauls 500 gallons to his cattle every day in the summer. It is. It's a lot of work, Joe. I was paying to have water hauled into my place in Colorado when I first got my animals. I had that, I believe, in some of my videos, and that's why I had to move. And that's why I ended up doing the owner finance on the ranch, because the ranch had the pond. And the seasonal creek, so that was able to water the animals. And then eventually I had a well put in. There are a lot of new grifter homesteaders who are just rich people buying expensive acreages. Yes, that's true too. I got lucky. When I came out here, everybody said to me that I was crazy. I bought my 120 acres at just over $1,100 an acre, and that was unheard of here. And I said, you don't understand what's coming to Arkansas. It's coming to every small little town, every little small holler, whatever you want to call it. It's coming. And within a year and a half of me being here, prices went to $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 an acre. And now you can't find 100-acre homesteads unless they're $1 million. It's crazy. Have you watched an American Homestead on YouTube? No, I have not, Joe. It's kind of like if you have a job and you clean, say you're a maid at a hotel and you clean and clean all day long. You don't want to come home and clean. And I haven't watched Patera, Homesteading with Patera, or Appalachia's Homestead with Patera in a long time, because I've been doing stuff here at Homestead, gutters, fencing, getting things done, excavation work, so on and so forth. So I've been busy. So I haven't watched a lot of YouTube. And I just watched one of her videos, and that's what she said. Most of the YouTube channels she watches is financial information, bacon, and some other stuff. She rarely watches homesteading channels. And that's the same with me. I do homesteading. I might glance through people's stuff when I'm looking for ideas, but to watch homesteading channels, I got enough of feeding my animals and doing my chores to not have to be exhausted by watching somebody else have to do all the same stuff that I'm doing. So no, I don't really watch a lot of homesteading channels. I do watch, like I said, Home Free Alaska. I watch their channel all the time. It might take me 2-3 days once their video comes out to see their video, but I do watch their videos. Like I said, I don't agree everything, but I love them as their channel. Like I said, all channels don't show exactly who everybody is. There's things that happen beyond that, just like with Colorado. I never spoke about a bunch of stuff, and then when I went to move, I told everybody some of the stuff that was going on. And same here. You know, I got stuff going on here. I don't talk about it on social media, and that's a big problem nowadays. Homesteading off-grid. You want to be off-grid? Get off the damn social media and stop going to social media for all your problems. That's one of the massive problems. Everybody wants to go and be a keyboard warrior and say all this stuff online, and it's too much nowadays. It's just too much. So that's one of the things. You want to be off-grid. You want to be, you know, away from it. Get away from it. Don't go on and say, oh, my meal was horrible at this restaurant, da-da-da-da-da. And then, oh, this guy came out to do work on my property and da-da-da-da. And all this stuff. Yes, I understand reviews. Go put a review out there. But going on Facebook and blasting stuff all over the place and going on YouTube like some of these channels and making every week a drama series, I know a lot of people love drama. A lot of people love watching the drama. And a lot of people want me to talk about all the drama I go through. It's not what I want to do. It's not what I want to live. I hate drama. I try to stay away from drama. It's not me. You can go back through all my Facebook and stuff. I try to stay far away from drama. I try to stay away from it. It's hard. So I don't want to be one of those channels. I'm not going to be one of those channels. But that's another way to get off grid. Get off your phones. Get off social media. Get off YouTube. Get off TikTok and all that stuff. But what do? We look for entertainment to entertain our lives. So we go and we listen to others' drama. And then we want to be keyboard warriors and comment and all that stuff back and forth. And it just continues on and on and on. So that's that. More off-grid. Getting into solar. Getting into, let's see, all this solar. From the inverter to the battery box, to the solar panels that everybody saw, or if you didn't see, you can check out the solar panels in different photos that I posted to the channel and post it on YouTube, both my personal, which is a locked account, and my Today's Homesteader channel, which is a public account. Getting into solar. So you're thinking about homesteading, you're thinking about getting off grid, or you're homesteading, or you're just in the city and you see all these wonderful ads pushing solar, 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 free solar, government rebate solar, all these different things with solar. Well, it's not what it's cracked up to be. So far in my original system, like I said, whenever I got the other last 2 batteries, which gave me the 6 batteries, I had $25,000 in cost. The inverter, the batteries, the cables, everything in here is the most expensive thing. For all the solar panels, it's like $1,200. They're 305 watts a panel, and I don't even think it was that much because I have 16 panels and they were less than $100 a piece. So just say $100 a piece. So it was $1,600 for solar panels. Solar panels are the cheapest part of a solar system. It's the inverter and the batteries. The batteries are $1,500 a piece. So everything I have in this first system, for those of you ask, because I get asked, how much is my solar? How's my solar doing? All that type of stuff. I'm going to go into that. $25,000 is what I have into this first batch of my solar system. Now, we all saw for last several Sunday, Monday vlogs, I have all the boxes piled up in here, all the batteries piled up in here, still all boxed up, because with Colorado selling, the check that I got, I went ahead and I invested. I got the log splitter, I got the tanks, I got the cement plant, the mud mixer that is like a concrete mixing plant, and then I got all this solar. I also got the fencing and paid off the credit cards, which now I'm back on to credit cards, but I'm going to get myself back out. Norman! Hey, dog father. How's all them 6 puppers out there in Illinois? Those Canadian ruffers. Those Mounties. Oh, great. I'm glad to hear that, Norman. I'm glad they're doing good. Glad you're doing good. But for the solar, like I said, I've got 25,000 in this first system. And then I'm going to be talking about new goals, New Year, new goals coming up. Like I said, January 1st or 2nd. And I got a bunch more solar. So altogether, I'm going to have about 50 grand into solar. And this is why I say, do not do solar. I know a lot of people love solar. I know a lot of people want solar, but it's like the military. I've been in the military. I don't recommend anybody going into the military because of all the political stuff. Some people that spent their entire lives in military, they love the military. They want everybody to go into the military. It's all in the eye of the beholder. But I will tell you this. For me to get power all the way out here to where my house site is, that I planned 4 years ago when I was living in the shed at the front of the homestead and building the road up here, $68,000. $68,000 to bring electric out here. And I was responsible for clearing a path from the road all the way out here of trees 40 foot wide for a 40-foot easement through the whole homestead. So there's some benefits and there's some negatives to solar, and I'm going to go over that. Do you still want to build a cinder block castle one day? I'll go over that too, Joe. Give me a few and I'll get into the building stuff. So with solar, for $25,000, which was a lot of money. And if I didn't sell part of my note to a mortgage broker on the ranch to get that money, I wouldn't have been able to get the solar. Because remember, if you go back to March, when I first moved in here with just a little bit of power, I said, I'll be lucky if by, I think it was Christmas, if I would even have all the batteries. Well, here I've had the batteries a lot sooner because I leveraged myself, and it ended up hurting me, but it helped me in the short term. I hurt myself in the long term. But for $25,000, I had enough power to run fridge, freezer, microwave, air conditioner unit, the hot tub. $68,000 to have the electric company bring power out. So do I recommend solar in that situation? Yes, I do. Do I recommend solar in that situation that there's a 40-foot easement going through your entire property? No, I don't recommend solar for that. Yes, I recommend solar for that. I don't recommend electric. Electric's a lot easier. Electric's a lot cheaper. You can have a lot more kilowatt usage for pennies on the dollar than it would cost you in solar. If you want a lot of power, you need a lot of solar. That's why instead of 25,000, I now have 50,000 invested into solar, because I'm going to put the mini split in. And when I did the air conditioner unit with the hot tub and the freezer kicked on, my inverter here is only 6,000 continuous watts. So those three things, boom, internet, everything else hooked up, took all that power, shut my system down, shut the inverter down for over usage or whatever it's called. I'm not the solar guy, but it shut everything down. Goes into reset mode and then slowly resets. So I need a bigger inverter. When I do my house, I'm going to have multiple mini splits, so I'm going to need more power, which is why I'm doing a bigger system. That is a big cost. Electric company, you pay a monthly bill. But if I lived at the front of the homestead, on the very far corner of the homestead, if I didn't have a foundation, a well, and a septic put in, which if I had those three, I could get electric for free. They would bring it, I think Arkansas is, I believe, 700 feet they're bringing for free, and then you have to pay after that. But if I didn't have those three things and I wanted power up there, it would cost me $12,000 for them to bring it the mile down the road or whatever it was to where I wanted it. It was going to cost me $12,000. So if it's a case like that, my solar system costs 25 grand. Or if you're a homesteader, try and get off grid or want to be on grid, off grid in the woods, but still have power. However you want to work your situation. $12,000 to have grid electric, I would do it in a heartbeat. Even with the easement across the front of the homestead, because that's just the front of the homestead. There's already an easement from the center of the road, 30 feet out. So there's already easement there. So to have electric easement there, make no difference. It's only another 10 feet. Or no, it's not another 10 feet. It would be less than what the county has because it's a county road, so the county has a bigger easement. But I would do that in a heartbeat. Why? 25,000 versus 12,000. Yes, I would have a monthly bill with the electric company. And no, I wouldn't have an electric bill with the solar. So solar would pay back itself over time. But this is what you got to think. If that inverter goes out, that the inverter I have up there right now, the small one, $1,500. That goes out, $1,500 you got to buy. If your power goes out, they fix whatever happens in your in the power grid, power system, whatever you want to call it. Doesn't cost you a dime. You just keep paying your monthly bill. My batteries die. One battery dies. $1,500. Grid goes down. They fix it. You still pay your $50, $100, $200 a month electric bill. How many months would it take? How many years would it take to cover just one battery? If all 6 batteries died, how many years would that be? Or maybe even a decade of the grid. But where I do say solar and where I do solar is like my last place. They wanted $58,000 or $52,000, $54,000, something like that. It was in the 50,000s to bring electric to my house. So I did solar. Why? Because I did not have that money back then. My solar system was really small. It was very ineffective. I used a lot of gas in the generator, a lot of propane when I finally realized there's propane generators, and that was a headache. If it's going to cost you a lot more, go with solar. If the easement's going to be through your entire property, go with solar. You don't want to give up land. You don't want to have easements more so than you already have on your property. If you live along the road, there's going to be an easement. I've got 3 easements on my homestead already. I got the railroad and phone line company on the back of the homestead at the railroad tracks. They're the only ones that have deeded easement to it. So there's an easement back there. If they wanted to bring and put a railroad track back in, they could. If they want to build telephone lines back through, they could. Can't stop it. It's deeded easement. Gregory Lane on the side of my homestead, going the whole length. There's multiple families, multiple dwellings, multiple addresses that all use that as deeded easement. I cannot shut off Gregory Lane from anybody going through Gregory Lane. Then I have Moscow Love. Moscow Love is the main county road. That's where I have a wider easement. The railroad track is 25 feet from the center of railroad tracks. Gregory Lane is 25 feet from the center of Gregory Lane. And then Moscow Love is 30 feet from the center over. So I already had 3 easements. So did I want to spend money on electric and have electric had a 40-foot easement cutting my property in half through the center of the homestead? No, I did not want to give up any more land, nor do I want anybody else accessing my property than needs to be. So go with solar in that situation. If the electric was, say, $20,000 to bring it all the way out here, and I had to lose to that easement, I most likely probably would have. Why? Because solar was so bad for me in Colorado. Although Colorado gets a lot more sun and everything, back when I did it, solar was so much more expensive. So the system I got now would be like an eighth back then. And that's basically what I had, was an eighth of what I have now is what I had in power back in Colorado. And that's why I ran the generator so much. And that's another thing. Going off grid, homesteading, trying to reduce costs. Instead of spending $150 this past week running a generator to keep my solar system charged up, are you paying an extra $150 in a week to run a generator if the electric is still on? No. So you pay your monthly $150 or $50 or $200, whatever your bill is, and you don't have any extra costs. I spend $25,000 on solar. We have a week of clouds. I'm spending extra $150 this week, extra $100 next week, $500 for a month down the road when we have a month of clouds. So these are the things you got to consider when you want to go off grid and when you think solar is such a great idea. And all these rebates that they talk about in town for everybody to get solar, yes, you may save $14,000 or $20,000 and not have to put a penny down, but you're locked into a long-term loan payment just like a mortgage with a 30-year mortgage, you're paying all that interest, you're paying all that cost, and it's going to take you a decade or more to get your money back. And the power company is taking all that electric and reducing your power bill, but you're paying for all the equipment. So instead of them paying for transformers and and all that stuff, and you get away with being on the grid with only $100 a month bill or $50 a month bill, and they pay all the infrastructure. Now they've got everybody stupefied into buying all the equipment, so they make power and they pay nothing for it. They get all that power from you for free, and they say, oh, we're just taking it off your bill. But you just paid all this infrastructure cost, and the power company is the one benefiting from it because all that excess power is going to them. Even if your bill is $0, if you were paying $40 a month for your electric bill, and you're sending them $300 a month in, or $300 a month in solar power that they can sell to somebody else, they're making out like a bandit. And you're paying for the next 10, 15, 20 years. So do I recommend solar in town? No. Do I recommend solar if you're anywhere close to power grid? No. Let the power grid pay for the infrastructure, the wires, the transformers, the generators, and all that, and pay them a small little fee each month to have that power. I'm going to run back real quick through some of these comments. Joe, I'll be right with you with the cinder block. Mr. Bishop passed away. We could use another castle to visit. 20 to 25 years of payments for the solar. Silly. Yes, Robert, I saw that. For those of you that don't know, Jim Bishop, if you Google Jim Bishop, he did a castle in Colorado. And Bishop's Castle. And he hand built the castle with stones off his property. He'd go out, fill up the back of his truck bed with rocks. I talked to him multiple times. Kind of a kooky guy. Had all different boards and things about your freedoms and your rights and all that stuff posted all throughout his property. Fought Colorado government multiple times. They tried to take it from him multiple times. It's an interesting read, and he was a very cool guy to not only do his own thing, but he wanted to do it on his own land, be left alone, and then he was willing to share it with others. And that's the thing. You know, everybody wants something from you, but nobody's willing to give anything to you. So there's very few people out there that just want to be left alone on their property and then try to share things. Just like me. Back in Colorado, I had how many people over and over and over come into the ranch because they saw animals on my mountainside and they wanted to see animals. And all those people that came and saw all the animals before I decided to do the petting zoo. And that was my way of giving back. People didn't leave me alone on my property. I almost said they did, but they didn't because we all know the headaches of Colorado. But it wasn't those people. And that's the thing too. Another FYI for everybody out there, no matter your situation, remember, if you're going to piss off somebody or you're going to do something to somebody, make sure, like I just reposted from my Facebook memories from like 6 years ago or whenever I posted it, I reposted it today, is when you piss somebody off or going to do something to somebody, make sure you never need them again. And this is one little tidbit I'll say from Colorado that I never talk about. But when I got that tractor back when I was out there in Colorado, when it snowed, I went and I snow plowed, I snow blowed the neighbors' driveways and everything like that. I didn't clear walkways and stuff, but I did their driveways. Not once did I get a thank you. Not once did I get any money. Not once did I ask for any money. And then when they started playing their games in Colorado, that's when that post popped up back in 2019. And I posted it again because it holds true back then and it holds true now. Because the second they started messing with me and doing all the stuff they did, guess whose driveways weren't plowed and weren't snow blowed, and whose vehicle were down the road where the plows plowed because they couldn't get to their place because nobody was clearing it with their tractor. So if you do good stuff for people, which I highly recommend paying it forward, do good stuff. You see an elderly couple or a single elderly person at a restaurant, pay for their meal. Single mom, single dad with kids doing good parenting, not bad parenting, but good parenting, reward it. Pay for a meal. Give the kids $5 in quarters. Let them play arcades. Let them buy an ice cream bar, what have you. Do good things. But when you do good things for people and people take advantage and then they try to do bad stuff to you, just remember, you don't have to do that good stuff no more. So if you maintain people's roads, you don't got to do that no more. You snow plow for people, you don't got to do that no more. You watch their dog, you don't got to do that no more. You go over and feed their chickens when they have to go out of town, you don't have to do that no more. You do not have to be taken advantage of. You do not have to be bullied. You do not have to bend over backwards to make somebody else happy when you were doing what was right in the beginning. So just a little side rant out there. I was in Cotopaxi last weekend. I was thinking about you when you lived there. I appreciate it, Robert. I think about you every time I hear somebody talk about Colorado Springs, because that's where I used to live. How many acres was your Colorado farm? The first place, Joe, where I first started getting animals was 2.5 acres. And that was when I lost everything, became homeless. I sold everything I had. I was able to get 2.5 acres for $2,000. And then later on, that was in 2011. And then in 2016 is when I started this channel and started getting animals. So that was 2.5 acres. That was another reason why, if you want a homestead, you got to realize, how many animals do you have? How many animals do you want? What all do you want to do on your homestead? Yes, you can do micro farms and all that type of stuff on an acre. But if you want to branch out, if you want more privacy, if you want more space, then you want more land. And that's what I needed. I didn't have the water source on the 2.5 acres. I didn't have the land for the animals that I wanted to get on 2.5 acres. So my next step was I went to the ranch, and that was 50 acres, Joe. 49.99 acres, basically 50. I fully got that fenced and then moved out here and bought the 120 acres here. And then the ranch was owner finance because I couldn't afford that. And then once I was able to get a bank loan, then I paid off the owner finance and did a mortgage to it. And then I got a mortgage on the homestead here. And then I used a line of credit in order to pay the loan off on Colorado so it could be sold right now when it just got sold the second time. Because the first time I sold as an owner finance, and then the owner finance screwed me over, and it's been downhill since. But Colorado's done. I'm done with Colorado. Don't have to worry about Colorado. I do still have my grandmother in Colorado, and friends in Colorado, and that's all I got to do with Colorado. Walmart sells canned Alaskan salmon for $3 a pound. That's what I'm feeding dogs, along with strained canned veggies, dry dog food. Oh, I thought you were gonna talk about salmon for me, Norman. I was gonna say I don't eat fish. I'm eating a very little bit of tuna fish because the doctors want me to eat fish because they want me healthier. I just don't care for fish, but that's interesting. But at the same time, I buy the big bags of chicken legs for the dogs, and now it's like $5.50 a bag. It was $4, $3.99 a bag, and I think that's a 5-pound bag of chicken legs. So if you want to get your poundage wise, Norman, I'm sure fish has more benefits than chicken does. I don't know all that. I would have to research that. But if you want a bang for your buck, $5.50 for a 5-pound bag of chicken legs, and it the dogs love them. My next house is 40-acre minimum. Currently have 10 acres, and that was my thing, Joe. And for those of you looking at homesteading and going off grid or prepper, farm, garden, ranch, whatever you want to call it, everybody calls it their own name depending on the eye of the beholder, how you look at things. And that's the reason, Joe, and everybody else, is why I had part of the homestead here for sale. I was selling 20 acres because 50 acres was a lot of land. And I went through the headache of the different fence companies to get that entire 50 acres. I say headaches with fence companies. One fence company I had a headache. The other two I didn't have issues with. They did amazing job. I made a video about it. They got the fencing done. The first one, like I said, some things are bad. That went to court. Ended up losing in court, and that's a whole story. Like I said, I don't talk about all that stuff online. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff that happened with that. But when I got the 120 acres here, I was so excited because I'm like, nobody in my family, no, going back to grandparents and great grandparents, nobody's owned 50 acres, let alone 120 acres. So for me to have 120 acres coming from back east, a city kid, you know, it's unheard of unless you get wealthy. And I didn't come from a wealthy family. So to get 120 acres, you know, we're talking, I paid what, 139,500 or something like that. Whatever it came out to, just over 1,100, or just under 1,200 an acre. I think it was 139. I think it was 139. But for 139,000, you know, people buy houses for that. And yes, this don't have a house on it. It doesn't have plumbing. It doesn't have electric. Doesn't have anything else. So yes, there's a lot more cost to it. But what I found out by having the 120 acres was it's a lot of land. It's just me. It's a lot for one person. Now, if it was 120 acres in Colorado, it wouldn't be a lot. The reason it's a lot for me is because it's 120 acres of hardwood forest. To clear trees and trees falling down across the driveway and new trees growing up 4, 5, 6 feet in 1 year after you just clip them all down, it's a lot of work of maintenance and to maintain and do everything. In Colorado, it was so dry, there was lack of vegetation, there wouldn't be a lot of maintenance. So that's the one reason why I was selling. One of the reasons I was trying to sell part of the homestead was A, give me less land to manage, which means less cost, because if I only have to fence 100 acres versus 120 acres, that's 20 acres of fencing I don't have to buy. For anybody that's done fencing knows fencing is a lot of money. So 20 acres worth of fencing is a lot of money. 2, pay down my mortgage on the homestead. 3, give me some money towards building a house, getting out of this tiny home. At the time, I wasn't living in the shed. I was living at the restaurant. But that's the reason why I put the homestead up for sale. So now I'm not selling the 20 acres. I'm not paying down the mortgage. I'm not paying or giving me money towards building a house. And now I've got to pay more money to buy more fencing, to do more. So you got to think about that for whatever land you go to. Joe, you especially, you're going to bump up to 40. Think of how much 10 acres was. I'm not saying don't buy 40 acres, but just remember, think of how much work 10 acres were And if you're in the same area, it's not going to change. But if you go from like Colorado with no vegetation to say Arkansas, where there's tons of vegetation and a lot more maintenance, you got to realize when you buy that 40 acres, 4 times the maintenance, 4 times the work, 4 times the cost. So remember that, anybody out there, if you're on an acre of land and you're going to bump up to 20 acres, that's 20 times the load you've been working already going forward. So if you don't want to overwork yourself, or you're not willing to continuously work and move forward on a larger property, then that's something to consider. You might not want to homestead on a larger property. You may want a smaller property. Going forward with me on the 120 acres, it's going to be a lot of work, but that's another reason why I said no matter what, I'm not moving. This is the end of my homesteading journey. It's staying here in Arkansas. I've seen too much videos now with Home Free Alaska, and now they live at a different place, and then their cabin is at a different place. That I don't want to be up there in all the snow. I like my warmer winters here. The only thing I hate about Arkansas is the humidity in the summer, the hot temperatures in the summer, and the ticks and flies in the summer. That's my winter retreat, but in the summer. Wintertime, it's awesome. Be out there fencing all night, all day, what have you. Not sweating, not covered in ticks. Although, like I said, I pulled 3 ticks off me today. But yeah. So let me go through messages real quick. Yep. Lots of woods, brush to manage, and fence, Joe. Cut down invasive cedar trees constantly, or they take over. Do they have invasive kudzu vine in Arkansas? I don't know where to go with that, Joe, because I'm not 100% on what kudzu is. But we have these brown vines that, like, first year vines, they're that small. Second year, third year, fourth year, fifth year, sixth year, and then they get into massive vines. And they're all over the trees, and whatever trees they're on, they kill the trees because they have these big leaves that block the sun from getting to the leaves to the tree. So that's another thing I want to do here on the homestead that I don't have time to do, is go around and snip a foot section off each vine from the ground up the tree, so the vines will shrivel up and die, and I can save trees from being damaged. But that's just work, it's just me to do. Okay, then that's probably what I have, Joe, because it's everywhere, and you can cut it flush to the ground, and the next spring there's 10 to 15 new vines coming out from the root system down in the ground somewhere. The goats love it. The animals love it. They eat it up. But I just, the front pen where the animals are, they've raped the ground completely to dirt. So that's another thing about getting this pen done by spring that I've been saying for multiple years. I'm going to have it done this spring. And I'm going to try to have it done this spring because I want them on fresh land. But there's only so much I can do, and I can't hire a bunch of fence companies to come in because I don't have the money. Like somebody said earlier, I don't remember who, was talking about all the rich homesteader channels that, yes, they come in, they've got a 120 horsepower tractor, and they've got ATVs, and they have tracked vehicles, and they have a barn that is 10 times the size of a large house and a giant workshop, and they go on vacation and they show you their trip here and their trip there. I can't do all that. I'm not made of money. I don't come from a rich family. All I can do is wait for properties to sell. So the only property I got to sell now is the restaurant. So when that sells, after paying taxes, realtors, I'll be at like $90,000. my house is going to cost $100,000. Me doing it, not somebody else doing it. Somebody else did it, the house be $400,000 because prices are just crazy nowadays. But going back to the house. Answer the question for Joe. Yes, Joe, I'm still planning on building a cinder block house. Is it going to be a castle? Most likely, no. Off-grid, homesteading, making life easier, making it less strenuous. I want to do the same thing with a house. I'm 37 years old. I'm not like a bunch of boomers out there that watch me. So I'm not in my 60s. But I am going to take the wisdom from the boomers at age 37. And I'm going to do a one-story house. Why would I do a one-story house? Because I know at one point I'll be a boomer. At one point I'll have issues going up and down stairs. At one point, if my doctors are right, I'm going to be in a wheelchair by 50. So if my bedroom and everything's up a flight of stairs and I end up in a wheelchair, I'm not planning properly. So I'm going to do a cinder block house. My idea is different than anything I've seen on YouTube. Along with, I've had couple people now tell me I need to make a video on my gutter system that I did because I got different ideas online, on YouTube and stuff, and my alien brain showed me exactly how to do it. And how it looks is how it looks. And they haven't seen nothing like it on YouTube. And I hadn't seen anything like it on YouTube. I've seen the PVC pipe, but they hang it with metal like tape or plastic taping or whatever that you do for plumbing pipe, and they screw it onto the roof, or they screwed L brackets on the roof so the PVC can't come over the L bracket. I saw a bunch of different things, but in my mind I did it the way my alien mind works, and I did it that way. And same thing with my house. It's going to be totally different than how everybody else does. But what I tend to do seems to work because the guy that bought my house that I built in Colorado is still enjoying the damn views that I missed so bad out my big 6-foot long windows in my upstairs bedroom. I had stairs in that house. But thinking ahead, and as I get closer to 50, I'm preparing that maybe the doctors could be right, or if they're wrong, then old age will get to me. And if old age doesn't get to me, then it doesn't matter if I had stairs or didn't have stairs. So it's going to be a one-story house. I'm going to practice my house idea on the power building. The power building is going to be the first time I do it. And people are going to be like, can you make a video on it? Well, now that I have my different cameras and the GoPro and the chest pack and everything else, I'm going to film some stuff. I'm going to work myself back into getting into editing, which means I'm going to be on my phone more, which I hate. But I do want to document what I'm doing for me so I can see how I did everything. But that when I do something, I over-engineer it. So for those of you that saw the gutter thing, each of those brackets that are underneath the gutter are capable of holding 200 pounds. And I have some of them every like 2.5 feet. I don't need that much on a 4-inch PVC pipe with water in it because it's not going to fill all the way. And even if it was filled all the way, it's way overkill. Same thing with the way I'm going to build the power building. So I will be going into that this spring. The first thing was to get the water. I need water for mixing concrete. Now I have water. So come spring, when freezing temperatures are done, I'll be able to start working on power building, and I'll be able to show the next part of off-gridding, which is all the solar set up in there, which will be multiple battery banks. It will be a massive, massive inverter, which is capable of 15,000 watts versus mine that I have now, which is 6,000 continuous watts. I'll have one that can do 15,000 continuous watts. And that will be able to power everything I need going forward. I won't need to buy another inverter. However, I do need to buy a second one of the big inverter, because if something goes wrong, and this is where off-grid and homesteading pays to be somewhat of a prepper. Up, up. Is 1 is none, 2 is 1. For those of you that have heard that saying. So if I get the power building built and get the inverter up, and something happens and that inverter dies, I can use this inverter. But this inverter is not strong enough to run everything. So could I limp my way until I get a second inverter? Yes. But I won't be able to run everything that I'm used to running. So I need to buy a second one. They're $2,900 for the big one that I bought. This one, $1,500. It's a massive increase. And this is, once again, off-grid, not connected to the grid, connect to the grid. $2,900 for an inverter. Inverter dies, you got to buy another $2,900 inverter. The power company goes down. It's back on in a day. You didn't have to come up with $2,900. You may have to run a generator for a few hours to keep your fridge and freezer from thawing out. $20-$30 for the day. But you don't have any big expense. So this is what I'm talking about. You got to make these decisions when you're homesteading, when you're looking at homesteading, when you're looking at off-grid versus on-grid, whether you want to be a prepper, not be a prepper, whether you want to live in the country, in the woods, in the city, in the desert, at the ocean. You got to look at everything. You got to do your research for everything. You got to decide going into something what you need. And for those of you that did not watch last Sunday, Monday vlog on talking about infrastructure and what you need to do first on a homestead, I highly recommend you go and look at that, because it's same thing with all of this. You don't move into a shed. Well, I mean, you can move into a shed and not have anything like I did when I first moved here. But wouldn't it be a lot nicer if, like the second time back in the end of March, first part of April, when everybody saw the journey of me insulating these walls, staining the wood, putting the floor in and all, and then being able to move into the shed completely done. Had solar with 2 batteries, not enough power for everything. To have a little bit of power over here, to be able to have the internet over here. Think about that when you're moving forward and trying to go forward with things. You don't want to make life rough. You want to make life as simple as possible. We may not have the money, and that's why it was rough for me the first time in the shed. It was still why it was rough for me the second time moving in. I only had 2 batteries. I need 6 batteries minimum. So I had to scrimp and save on my power. I had to see exactly what I needed to use and what I can use. The same thing with now. Now I got to run a generator. It costs more money. But if you're going to buy new land, buy the land. Then get everything done on it first. Get everything set up first. Same thing with like last Sunday, Monday vlog that I talked about with the animals. If you're going to get animals, don't do what I've done in the past and just buy chickens and not have fencing done. Get your fencing done. Get your chicken hut done. get a chicken water station done, a chicken feeder done, get all that done. So then when you bring chickens there and you buy your chickens or get your chickens for free from somebody, it's simple. It's easy. It's not a headache. Where if you get the chickens and you have to build everything around the chickens, then you're not only having to do all the labor and building and doing everything, but in the meantime, you're trying to collect eggs, you're trying to feed, you're trying to water. So it's double the workload. Same thing with moving into the shed. The shed was done. Now, yes, I don't have the trim right here. I don't have the trim up on the ceiling. I didn't finish everything. But to be able to move in and have it feel like a home versus just an empty shed, and being able to have internet to watch some TV and be able to do something in the evening when it's dark and be able to turn a light on makes life a lot easier than coming into an empty shed, no power, no internet, and you're trying to build all that and you have no conveniences. So just because you want to live off grid does not mean you have to sacrifice conveniences. You can still have power. Might cost a lot more money. You can still have water. May cost a lot more money. I have a hot tub. Costs a lot more money. But guess what? By not having any plumbing and not having the gutters done, and the other shed wasn't here yet, and the cisterns weren't here yet, I couldn't collect water. So what would a homesteader, off-gridder, farmer, rancher do with no water? You got to take a bath. You got to clean. So what's the most feasible way? In Colorado, I will tell you 100%, if you're in Colorado or any high desert, your number one water saver is a hot tub. I found that out. I wish I would have saved or just put a hot tub on my credit card years ago when I was in credit card debt, because it's 20 to 40 gallons every few months to put into the hot tub. When you take a shower, the water's gone. You need more water. When you take a bath, the bath water's gone. You need more water. Hot tub has a filter system in it. All it needs is power. So to be able to live off grid, my off grid, with luxuries, because I don't want to go and make a spoon from a branch and a plate from a log and all that type of stuff. If you want to do that, go ahead and enjoy that type of lifestyle. I want to live peace and quiet on my homestead with all the luxuries of the city. I'm able to watch TV. I'm able to microwave. I eventually will have my oven. When I have my house built, I'll have a pool table in the house so I can sit there and shoot pool, do all these different things. But just because you want to be off grid, do not listen to some of these channels that tell you you're not off grid for having these luxuries, because it's your blood, it's your sweat, it's your tears, it's every dollar and penny and nickel you've earned over your lifetime that you're putting in to have these luxuries. If you want to do what I do, go right for it. I'm just warning, the solar's going to cost you a lot of money. It's a lot more than you know about if you've never dealt with solar before. Same thing with rain catchment. You're going to have filters. You're going to have a clean out. You're going to have to do all these different things. I will contemplate making a video on the gutters, how I did the gutters, the tools I use for the gutters, and show that idea, because I know I've had multiple people wanting to know about that now, and I'll go forward with that. If anybody has any other questions, go ahead and throw them up. Otherwise, I think I'm pretty good tonight. I can already feel my voice going. I just looked at, I'm at an hour and 24 minutes, which is a pretty long live stream. Not the longest, but it's up there. So if anybody has any questions on any topic, any subject, feel free to ask right now. Otherwise, I'm going to be hopping off and I'm going to watch some of my TV shows and at some point hop in the hot tub for a while because I'm sore. Oh, had a couple people message me real quick. Oh, I'll never stop homesteading, Joe. And actually, I'm going to throw one more thing out there with the homesteading thing in a second. But I had a couple people ask me, since I'm always facing the video, people want to know about my neck and my back through the military. I don't have the x-rays and all that stuff. But I hope that shows. If you can tell on my neck right here, where I ripped all the muscles off my spine. So that is what the doctors are talking about. I did that on my neck and down my back. And so on each of your vertebrae, you have a muscle pulling each side. So when you lean over, they go together, lean over, go together, so on and so forth. They stretch, of course. But because I tore my neck out and my back out in the service, I've got like 3 that there's nothing. These 3 are gone. That's that big bulge in my neck. That's the 3 vertebrae there that did that. And then down in my back, right down here, and then 1 down in my lower back. So instead of your spine being straight and you got all your muscles holding your spine and vertebrae all the way down, I tore them off. So now they say I could pass for scoliosis because now my spine goes like that or whatever. It's like an S. It's not scoliosis, though. It's the lack of muscles. The military wants, they still want, they want to either screw or staple the muscles onto the vertebrae and try to get it to reattach. I'm not willing to take that risk because it's a high-risk surgery. Because if a screw or staple or whatever they use goes wrong or fractures a spinal thing, you're going to have issues. I also grew up with an aunt that had metal rods in her back that she had to get out. Some got infected and had different ones put in than new ones and so on and so forth. So that's another thing with back surgeries, neck surgeries, is once you get a surgery, tends to be surgeries for the rest of your life. So I don't tend to want to do that. But I know I've had several people ask me why my doctor tells me I'm going to be in a wheelchair, why they don't want me doing what I do, and why I shouldn't be doing what I do, but I only live one life, so I'm going to do what I'm going to do, just like I tell the doctor. And if they're right, I'll be in a wheelchair at 50, because by that time my back and everything will be so bad it will pinch the nerve in my spine, and then I could potentially have paralysis from my waist down. We'll see if that happens. Alien luck, though, I think I'm going to prove the doctor's wrong, but that's what happened. Joe, that's brutal. You get medical military. Hold on. Discharge. Yes, I did get. I got honorable medical discharge is what is on my. Damn, I've been out the military so long I can't even think. Something 4, whatever 4. I've been out way too long. I've been out since 07. But yes, I got medical discharge from the service, honorable medical discharge. And then I get VA for my neck and my back because it was a training accident that happened. I've talked about it many times. I'm sure I got a lot of new subscribers, so I guess I can go over that real quick. So we were at Fort Bullis down in Texas, and we were bounding up a desert dune. And I had about 150 pounds on my back because we were rucking in a line formation, going to invade an enemy force. This was pre-Iraq. I never got deployed overseas, so my injury stopped me from making a lot of money. I was going to make $89,000 in hazard pay for a 6-month tour, and I got injured prior. And we were bounding up Desert Dune. I stepped in a hole, and I dropped just above my knee, and everything twisted. And when 150 pounds twisted on my back, it snapped all those muscles. And the doctor said if I would have been here in the hole, my whole lower leg would have separated from my leg. And my knee was all swollen up. But my leg stayed intact due to the fact that I went below ground level above my knee. That's the only thing that saved my leg. And tore my neck and my back. And then I got carried out. So it was fun. When you go in the military, that's another thing. Same thing with homesteading. Same thing with anything. You think you can cross the road, somehow you get hit by a bus. You go in the military for either serving your country, free college degree, to travel the world or whatever, and you find out you have a heart murmur in MEPS and you can't even go in the service. Or you go in, you're in for just under 2 years, like me, and then training accident happens. A lot of people don't know. There's training accidents that people die. And it's not all over the news. There's soldiers that die in training accidents, I would say, every month. At least every month, if not every week. And it's not talked about. And, you know, same thing. When you become a firefighter or you become a cop and you're doing your training and doing the burning buildings, look at how many of them make a mistake, end up getting hurt or burned or in a car wreck or something like that. You never know what's going to happen to you. And that's the same thing with homesteading. And why, when you're homesteading and you're preparing and you want to be a prepper or you want to be ahead of things, you got to think these things through. Just like my house. I'm not doing a 2-story house. I really want to do a castle, but I don't want stairs. Because if I have stairs and something happens, then I've lost access to all that space. Same thing with my animals. I'm 37 years old. I'm thinking forward. So my animals, I figure I'll have for another 20, maybe 30 years. Do I stop homesteading in 20 to 30 years? No. I'm thinking long. So in 20 to 30 years, when I can't take care of the animals, or 10, 15 years, who knows? Tomorrow I could step in a hole and break my spine somehow. But if I can't take care of the animals as I age, I'm going to have my gardens. I'm going to have my fruit trees. It doesn't take much to pull weeds, plant a seed, and pick produce and fruits. It doesn't take much at all. Do I need a bunch of fencing at that time? No. The fencing should be done by then. Probably won't be. High hopes. But this is what you have to think about in all your decisions in life is, what is the worst case scenario? What could happen in the future? So you don't want to go into homesteading thinking you're going to have goats and chickens until you're 100 years old, because at some point you're not going to be able to take care of those animals. And at that point, you got to have something that you enjoy homesteading, whether it's sitting there bird watching or honeybees or what have you. You got to look at these steps. And that's why I'm going full-fledged on this homestead. And this is why it's the permanent homestead, because I'll have the animals till I don't. I'm going to add gardens in at some point. I'm going to add an orchard in at some point. Of course, one of the things you want to do as a homesteader is get an orchard in as soon as possible, because the trees take decades. So the later it takes me to get an orchard in, the longer it's going to take me to ever see fruit or ever see the trees grow. Something to think about. So I hope everybody had a great night. I hope everybody had a great Christmas and everything else. Had a great upcoming New Year's. Like I said, I didn't do much for Christmas. I stayed here. I didn't even cook the meatloaf and mashed potatoes in the microwave. I heated up a can of beans. That was my Christmas. I watched A Christmas Story and Jingle All the Way. I never even watched It's a Wonderful Life, and I watch that every year along with Christmas Story. But I just got to the point that I'm like, I'm just not in the Christmas spirit. No lights, no trees. Um, I'm hoping this next Christmas is going to be good. I'm going to talk about that in the upcoming New Year's New Goals and all the big plans I got for this upcoming year and projects coming up this upcoming year. And I got to make those 2 videos one before January 1st and one by January 2nd. So I'll have those videos coming up. Hope everybody has a great night, great upcoming work week. If you're doing that 9 to 5 grind, if you're retired, I'm sure I'll hear from you because I get phone calls all the time from you guys, or emails or Facebook messages. So I hope I answered all the different questions I've had that I can remember from the different ones I've had. Any other questions, feel free, email, text, call, comment on YouTube, what have you, and I'll try to get to it in the next Sunday, Monday vlog. Until then, take care, and like always, live happy, live free. That's the only way to be. See you guys on the next video. Have a great night.